My repose stems from the repose of others. Geronda. If someone has not tasted the joy of sacrifice, how can he attain such a spirit of sacrifice? By putting himself in the other's place. When I was serving in the army, the machine gun post was often filled with water. The batteries for the wireless needed to be changed, and it was very difficult because the line was overloaded. I was drenched to my waist and my overcoat was dripping. Yet I preferred to do the work myself so as not to trouble the others, and I was happy to do it. My commanding officer would tell me, "I am at ease and feel secure when you do the work, but I feel sorry for you. Let someone else go and do the work." But I would tell him, "No, I am happy to do it, sir." There was another wireless operator in our company, but during the maneuvers, I didn't let him carry the batteries or the wireless, even though they were very heavy, so that he wouldn't be in danger. He pleaded with me, "Why don't you let me carry them?" And I would tell him, "You have a wife and children. If you are killed, I will have to answer to God." So God protected both of us. He didn't allow either of us to get killed. It is preferable for a sensitive person to die once out of love in order to protect his neighbor, rather than be neglectful or cowardly and then to be constantly tormented by his conscience for the rest of his life. Once during the guerrilla warfare maneuvers, the guerrillas had cut us off outside one of the villages, and the soldiers were going to draw lots to see who would go into the village for supplies. "I'll go," I said. If some inexperienced or careless soldier had to go, he could have been killed, and then my conscience would have troubled me. It would be better, I thought, for me to die than the other soldier, and then to have my conscience killing me for the rest of my life. How could I endure that? My conscience would tell me, "You could have saved him. Why didn't you save him?" At the time I was fasting and had not eaten, but never mind that. Our commanding officer told me, "I too prefer that you go, for you are experienced, but you should eat something to have energy." I took my weapon and set off. The guerrillas mistook me for one of their men and allowed me to pass through. I went into the village and entered a 2-storied house. An elderly woman who was there gave me supplies and I returned to my company safely. The greatest joy I experienced in the winter there in the snow, I remember one night waking up while the others were still sleeping. The snow had covered the tents. I went, took the wireless, removed the snow from its holes and saw that it still worked. I ran to our commanding officer and told him. That night I saved 26 soldiers from freezing by digging them out of the snow with a shovel. I have done nothing for Christ. If only 10% of what I did in the army had been done for Christ, now I would be doing miracles. This is why later as a monk I would say, "While in the army I went through so many hardships for my country, but now as a monk what am I doing?" In other words, compared to the hardships I endured in the army, my life as a monk was like being a prince, regardless if I had or didn't have even a crust of bread to eat. Have you any idea what kind of fasting we did during the army maneuvers? We ate granulated snow. The others ran about and found something to eat, but I could not move about with the wireless. Once we were without food for 13 days, they had rationed to use 1 loaf of bread and half a salted herring. Sometimes the only thing we had to drink was the muddy water in the hoof prints of the animals. Most of the time I had to quench my thirst not with clean rainwater but with muddy water. Once I even drank some orange juice. Later as a monk, even the water that may not have been so pure seemed to me like a great blessing. At least it looked like water. Once, one afternoon, the ground line had been broken. It was December of 1948. The snow was deep. At 4 o'clock in the afternoon, the order was given to go to the village 2 hours away, to repair the line and return. In the meantime, there were only 2 more hours of daylight. The soldiers were dead tired and didn't have the energy to start. And how was one to find the broken line in so much snow? Didn't you know the way and where the line was? Well, I had an idea where the road was, but the night was fast approaching. In any case, they gave me a group of soldiers and we started out. At first we cleared the snow from the road in the camp and proceeded a little to set our commanding officer at ease. Then I said, "Let's move on now, for we must also return." I took the lead because the others were resisting. They were grumbling, "Greece never dies, but we are dying." The same thing over and over again. Again and again I would sink into the snow and they would lift me up. I carried a bayonet which I would thrust into the snow to create a grounding. I had to check constantly. I would get in the front, "Move on, animals don't pass this way," to cut the line. Only in some depression in the ground where the line may be suspended over it, there is where we should check. Finally we reached a village with terraces, but because the wind had made snow drifts there, we could not see anything. When we reached the terraces, I fell into the snow drift, and the others had a hard time getting me out. Gradually going from one terrace to the next, don't even ask me how, we all descended to the village late at night. In some nearby depressions I found the broken line dangling in two places. We repaired it and were able to communicate with our commander. He told us, "Return to the camp." But how were we to return to the camp? Aside from it being night time, how were we to climb the terraces from which we virtually had just rolled down? How were we to find our way at night? So I told him. We made it downhill, but now it will be very difficult going uphill. Let us return tomorrow morning by going around the village. He insisted that we return that night. Fortunately, an adjutant heard the commander and pleaded with him to allow us to remain at the village that night, which we did. We received hospitality in a house, and they gave us several tsergis to sleep in. I was completely soaked by shoveling the snow to open the way in front, so they felt sorry for me and placed me in the middle so that I could be warm. During all that time, we had eaten just a piece of rudi. I cannot remember experiencing a greater joy in my life. I had to give you these examples so that you understand what sacrifice means. I didn't tell you all these things so that you would applaud me, but so that you understand where true joy comes from. In addition to the above, some people in the signals office would tell me lies. My father is coming and I need to go and see him. Please take over my duties for a while. Another would say my sister is here and she wasn't even his sister. Still others would say something else, and I would constantly be doing some service for one or another of my fellow soldiers and sacrificing myself. Then I would also sweep and clean, because it was forbidden for others to enter the signals company. Not even an officer from another service was permitted to enter, for it was wartime. We could not even get someone to clean, so I would pick up the broom and clean up all the areas. It was there that I learned to sweep. I simply thought to myself, this a place of service, and in a way it is a sacred place, it cannot be untidy. I was not required to do the cleaning, nor did I know how. At home I had never touched a broom, and if I had, my sister would have taken it from me and given me a beating with it. The others called me the cleaning woman or perpetual victim. But I never minded these things, and I never did anything to hear a thank you. I really did it with my heart because I felt it was necessary, and I enjoyed it. Geronda, did you have any negative thoughts? For example, did you think that fellow is just going out, he's not going to see his sister? No, I didn't have such thoughts. From the moment someone said to me, "Please can you take my place for a while?" that was it was done. Sometimes someone would ask me for money and tell me it was for his children. He not only did not send the money to his children, but he asked for more from his wife to spend on himself. You see, nor did I do it to earn praise. I simply felt it as a need. Because I never took any leave, the others took advantage of this and left their work for me to do. I ended up doing all the company's work. The signals were piling up. and the lines were constantly busy. I would get worn out. Once I had a temperature of 39.5 Celsius and didn't tell anyone. Finally, I fainted from exhaustion and they took me away on a stretcher to a hospital. I heard them saying, "Come on, Benedictus, we are taking you with a stretcher to the garage for overhaul." They left me there alone. Who would pay any attention to me? Their concern was for the wounded, but I felt joy, the joy which comes from sacrifice, for I found my repose in the repose of others.